Thank you. So welcome to Teams Nation. I'm really happy to be part of the show again. My name is Martina. I'm located in Vienna, Austria. And today we have beautiful weather here. So blue sky, sun is shining around 20 degrees Celsius. So I really enjoy the day. And what we will do in the next 30 to 40 minutes is I want to show you what Microsoft 365 Priva is and how Microsoft 365 Priva helps you to safeguard your personal data and build a privacy resilient workspace. The reason for that is we live in a world currently, and we lived there in the past, where privacy really matters. And you know, I'm from a German-speaking country in Austria, and we have in Europe, we have specific privacy laws. And now we see that many other states and regions and organizations care about privacy a lot. So sooner or later, most of the world's population will have its personal data covered under modern privacy regulations. So, and this is also the reason why I took a look into Priva, because I have some customers who are currently looking into these privacy management options. And also what I want to show you is how we can identify our risks, what kind of risk can I identify, and how can I handle my data subject requests with Microsoft Priva. So, and also if you have questions, simply ask. I'm happy to do that. I see the chat also, and I will try to answer the questions immediately. And then we can handle that over. And I'm happy to get some feedback. You know, after 2 years into a pandemic, it's like speaking to a dark screen all day. It's kind of exhausting. But I think I do not tell you any new things. So what is our agenda for today? So privacy is top of mind for organizations and consumers today. So concerns about how private data is handled are steadily increasing. Our regulations and laws, such as the GDPR law, which was one of the first one, and which is followed by the California Consumer Privacy Act, those regulations impact people around the world because they are setting up rules for how organizations can store personal data and give people insights in our personal data which are collected by an organization. So we have the right to forget, everyone knows that. And also especially in Europe, when you're surfing around all the cooking settings, the cookie handling and so on. So we go more and more into privacy is important, and please keep our data and take care about our data, and do not start profiling us or make things worse for us as persons, because we're still persons and we share data a lot. And also what you can do with that is make a profile of specific people and so on, and no one likes that about himself. So this is the first thing. So why data protection is important. And then I will walk through Microsoft Priva, the elements about that, how it works and so on. And then I will show it live in a demo. I also prepared some backup slides just to show you how it looks like in a live tenant where I couldn't be able to sign in and show it live. So it's just slides that you see how the reporting works and so on. And after that, we will show at the, I will talk about the licensing topics around Microsoft Priva, and I'm happy to answer any questions which are after that. So I wanted to start with a statistic which was created by Harvard Business Review in October 2019. And I'm pretty sure the Viva Learning team doesn't want to hear that, but according to the forgetting curve theory, employees forget about 75% of a training after just 6 days. So that means if you have a yearly compliance training and so on, you raise awareness for a certain amount of time, and then it slows down and it gets forgotten, and you have a refresh then after a year, and that means you during the year it might come to compliance incidents or also to violations, which can harm your privacy settings and can also violate any compliance policies you have in your tenant. And if we look at that and what we want to do with privacy is first of all, we want to identify critical privacy risks and conflicts. That means we want to gain visibility in what kind of personal data do we have in our tenant. And then the other thing is I'm a person who wants to standardize and automate things a lot. The reason for that is if you do the same all day and all time, first of all, it's quite boring. And the second reason is if you repeat things a lot, it gets a manual effort, you tend to make mistakes, and it could happen that you just simply forget about things. So also with Priva, you can automate those operations, and you can also respond to subject rights requests. And the third thing, which is around Priva, is we want to empower employees to make smart data handling decisions. And that means we want to have a continuous user awareness from the user perspective. So that means if you have personal data from another person stored in your OneDrive, for instance, you get a reminder that says, hey, do you need this data anymore? Do you want to delete it? And so on. And also to give you a practical example, I'm working with a customer, and the interesting part here is it's a bank, so it's in the financial industry and so on, but we talked about compliance a lot, and they said, I do not want to store credit card data within my Microsoft 365 environment, not in Excel files, not in Word document, and so on. Why? Because we have a specific system on that, we have a database for that, and we have also a billing provider who has to handle that data. So our best approach would be not to have any of that data within our organization, to don't get into any troubles or loss if the system got broken or there's an incident on our data. And also, if you look at the challenges, so very common challenges is we want to protect the increasing amount of unstructured data from privacy issues. And those privacy issues arise from human error. You're oversharing things. You do not look at the screenshot you just shared and so on. So it could happen that you're sharing within an accident. Then we want to help employees to adopt data handling practices and training them to spot and fix issues. So also we, as people, we continuously learn how to interact online. What do we share from each other? What do we share on social media? What do we share within Microsoft 365? Think about that. It's all what you write in an online system might stay there forever. So for instance, if you make a political comment in Facebook and you delete it afterwards, it could still be in the database if you do not start the data subject request with them, and hopefully they delete the data after the request is handled by them. Also, we need to understand the potential risks in the amount and type of personal data which is stored within your environment. And the last thing, what I already said, a person can come and file a data subject request with your organization, and then you have a certain amount of time to answer that. So GDPR is kind of blurry on the amount of time you have as an organization to react on a data subject request. It's called immediately. and immediately can be 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, depending on the data and also depending on the arguments you can bring in here. So also think about that. And this is also kind of a backward situation. What I wanted to talk is how data protection and data privacy rules works today. So most of the organizations I talk with is, yeah, we have a process in place on paper. Or the second option is, yeah, we are working on a process. Or the third option is we have a process in place and it's always manual. And the manual investigation, it costs you a lot of time. People have to review things which have nothing to do with the initial request. Think about that. So they probably see data they shouldn't see. Also, very often I speak with companies, they say, we have a vendor for that. He handles our data subject requests. That means you also have to deal with who is processing your data. Do you have a data processing agreement with the third-party vendor? What kind of access does that person have? What is the compliance status of that person, and so on. And then you get an difficulty in staying current, because that means if you start your data subject request today and the person is still creating content within your environment, you need to stay current and you need to be updated. So this is also one of the things which might be difficult to process. And also, as I said before, is the user awareness is very low on privacy. So normally, and I do that a lot, I do a compliance workshop with clients, and I always have the feeling that if you talk with IT, they said, yeah, you know, Martina, it's totally interesting, but it's not our topic. I do not know how to handle that, and so on. And this brings me to the next topic is when you talk about compliance, GDPR, data subject request, and so on, you have different investigators into those topics. So if you talk with legal, it's a completely different situation as if you talk with a compliance officer. Very often it's the same person in an organization, but if it's a larger organization, it could be separated departments, and they have a completely different picture about what is meant with GDPR and data protection and what do we have in here. So to give you a practical example also is one of my customers, they said the legal department says, I'm only interested in legal cases. So if we have a court order, we will investigate. The rest we do not care. And the compliance officer says, okay, we do care about data subject requests, but we have a manual process in place. And then you have a third person, which is the data protection officer, who says, okay, I have to care about private data and I have to handle that. And then you have probably a fourth person in the whole game, which is the worker council, who says, I need to protect the employees that their data is overshared within our environment. And then you get in the whole discussion, what is a business case, what is the right to forget, and how to do that. And also, if you think about that, regulations in different states increase. Think about that. GDPR started first. Then we got California. We have other regions which are currently starting in creating privacy laws and so on. And it's a growing part. Also, if you think about kind of export regulations, so if you have that, so for instance, if you have an export regulation, you are not allowed to export certain content into another country. This might be true also for your digital data. Okay, I got a comment. It's also important to notice that in different countries have total different regulations. Then it could easily means that the end user awareness cannot be high. Yeah, I agree on that. But currently, I think it's important in general to have user awareness in private life, also in your organizational life, that you kind of have a basic understanding about what privacy means and what you need to take care about data. I'm always smiling about my colleague, Tony. He presented 2 hours ago, and he's a developer, and he tends to share tokens in sessions online. And always after his sessions, I go and force him to recreate all tokens and to recreate all access. And this is also something you need to be aware of. So what are the prerequisites of Priva? First of all, it's not part of any license. I'm just a messenger, don't shoot me for that. It's really, it's an additional license which comes on top of your current Microsoft 365 license. So first of all, you have to confirm that you have a subscription and a license. There's a trial for that. I think it's a trial which lasts for 9 months. So you can simply turn it on, look at it, look at the outcome, and then decide if Priva is something which is suitable for your needs. The second prerequisite is we have to enable the audit log. This is turned on by default on new tenants, but there are some tenants who have turned that off or did by default turn it off. Third thing is we need to set user permissions and assign roles. I will show you that. So it doesn't mean that every global admin, like everywhere in the compliance center, has access to Priva by default. So it's a specific right within the compliance center. And then if you start enabling Viva in the tenant, you will see it takes a while to crawl the data, to set up the processes and so on. And then you can set up your policies, wait 2 days, 3 days a week, and then you can start managing the risks with your default policies and with your subject rights requests. The functionality is, as I told you before, first of all, we have an automated AI-based identifier and protection against privacy risks. So you have a continuous scan in your tenant. So you will identify risks like data hoarding, problematic data transfers between departments or between different countries. And you can also look at data oversharing. Then you can gain visibility into the storage and movement of personal data. So when data is moved from one location to another or downloaded or something like that. And then also with the employee awareness and the notifications, they will get support by what is the sharing decision you're currently doing. This file contains personal data. Do you really want to share it, and so on. And also you can manage your data subject requests at scale. So you can just open up the cases and create them and have them available. The next part about the functionality, as I already mentioned, we have 3 topics which are covered through Viva. First of all, it's an overexposure of personal data. So that means we can discover this data. We can also discover sensitive data, and we can also discover it when you have more than one privacy issue in the data, or you have confidential content or anything else. So you can do that. Data transfers, this is important, and I get a lot of questions currently with the whole situation about where can we store data, are we allowed to transfer data to certain locations, and so on. So first of all, with a Priva policy, you can detect and manage the transfer of personal data between departments, but also across country or through regional borders. So that can help you if you have any data exposure regulations, or you have any privacy regulations that, for instance, you are not allowed to submit data to a specific department. It's kind of, so an example could be you have the retail department, which is not allowed to talk to the engineering department, just that they don't violate any NDA content or share it or anything else. So this is one of the use cases you can step in with the Priva data transfer policy. And then Priva can also help you identify personal data that doesn't need to be retained. And it can also prioritize remediation efforts to delete this data. So you do not have to set up probably a deletion policy which goes through the whole content at one time. You simply go and can make a notice to the user and say, okay, this data wasn't used for the last 100 days. Do you still need it? And that being said, we are jumping right into the demo, and I'm sharing my other screen here. And you should see it right now. Yeah. So I'm starting here in the compliance center. So I'm signed in one of my demo tenants, and you see here the compliance manager is Joanna, and she starts here in a compliance center. And she, first of all, what I want to show you here is on the left, you see here our data privacy risk management settings. So we go to the overview. And what you see in here is I'm currently with a demo with demo content, and you see here it's currently investigating. Priva management has found items with personal data, 9 new items. We do not have any policy matches yet because it's a fresh policy which was set up, and we have some subject right requests which were already taken. And then we also have a key insight in there where we see what kind of data did we find. So we found personal data types, content owners, and so on, and we have a nice summary in here. Policy alerts are not fired yet, but what we see already is the location we are in. And because this is an US-based tenant, and I'm just showing it from there because I provision all my demo tenant in the US, because I just think I get things earlier on demo tenants. And here you see the location is only based in here, so we do not have any transfer and so on. And at the end, we see our subject right request. So first of all, let us just jump into the items and what we see here. So I'm simply clicking in here, then I go into the newest documents which are in there. Also, which is very important, Priva can manage data from Exchange, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams. So everything which is within Microsoft 365 is in there. And you see here, it has found some Word documents, but it also found a chat from one of our users. In that case, it was Joanna. So you see here, we see also the different locations. And as an investigator, we can simply click into the content, and then you see the content where it is, and we can also look at the details. And what I like about that is you see here, the location is named here, and also you see what kind of data types are found within this request. And you see here, we have credit card numbers in there, debit card numbers, and so on. So we see here, we have a lot of things we can investigate. So how does it look like if we look at the chat, and here you see Joanna chatted with someone and sent over a social security number through the Teams chat. And you can also discover that with the functionality and can look at that. And you see here, okay, this is an US-based social security number, which was found in our tenant. So you see, we have here already a lot of useful information. The other point is what we can look here is if we go in our data profile on the left. Yeah, one point I wanted to mention, you can always export the data to get an overview about what items have you found. You do not download the whole content by itself. You just get the export about what was found in your tenant. And then we move over to the data profile. And in the insights, and this is what I will show you if I go in the locations, in the insights, you will find where have I found content which needs to be protected. And also what you see here, it's investigating Exchange, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams. And you see also the sensitive info types which are in there. And it's not only, for instance, a European passport number and so on. It could be other classified content which is in there. So for instance, we have a content here which is called Project Obsidian. And also this is a classified sensitivity type which we are looking for. Or you can also look at the most common credit card numbers or anything else. So you see here in the profiling section, we see a lot what we can handle here. And then what else can we see here is we can look at our policies. And if we go into the policies, you see here, those are the policies which are set up in the tenant. And you can also see, okay, is the policy currently on or is it in testing mode? So very often, if you start with a trial, you can simply go into testing mode or do the transfer from there. What I do now is here, I create a new policy. And in the new policy settings, I have some templates which are already there. So I can go and can say, okay, I want to have a policy about data transfers. So I can go in there, create that. And go into the settings, and then you see what kind of data types is they are looking for. And here you see all the data types, and then you see what kind of users and groups and locations do we have. We want to customize the settings, so we go to Edit. You see here, this is the type of data policy which we are creating. Here you see our classification groups. You can also add individual sensitive information type if you have any. So you can also look at that, like I showed you before with my projects. And then we can go there and can say, okay, who is covered by this policy? And as I said before, for instance, if we talk about a cross-border data transfer, we would probably only have specific users and groups which we want to include. Or we go into all users and groups, regardless where they are located. And then in the next step, we can choose what kind of content we want to look for. So OneDrive, Teams, SharePoint, and Exchange. And if we go there, then we can still decide what do we want to do. Do you want to choose between sender regions or other regions? So for instance, you can say, I'm in Europe. I do not want to have transfer of data to North America or anywhere else. Or what we can do here is we can also select transfer between departments in our organization, and the sender department could be executive management, and the recipient department is HR for whatever reason. And then you can say, okay, those departments will have a condition here. And then the next thing is, what is the policy match? Give the user a policy tip. So that means if someone from executive creates content to HR, they get the policy tip and the notification regarding the user awareness. And then you can also, if you do not receive enough emails, you can also send a notification to users when a policy match occurs. And if it's not enough to get that email weekly, you can simply change that to daily. And you can also add here a custom URL for the training. Just adding that. Then I go to next. And then the next part is, do you want to create alerts for that? So that an admin and compliance admin get an alert. Yes, of course, we want that. And also, again, you can trigger an alert every time it is triggered, or you can simply configure it in another more frequent way. Consider that very often an admin says, okay, can we reduce the amount of alerts we receive? So also consider that. In our case, I said each time, medium, next. And then you can say, okay, do I want to run it in test mode, or do I want to turn it on? And I can simply say, okay, we run it and next, and then we can review our settings. And you see here, these are the sensitive information types which Priva is looking for. And if we submit that, we have the setting already in here. The next thing I wanted to show you is if I have an alert triggered, you can look at that. We are currently still in an creation mode, but what I can show you, and this is kind of the same situation, is how it looks like with a subject rights request. But first, because it's also very important very often that you say, okay, who has access to the data? There's a little gear icon here on the right where you can set, okay, what do I want to show? So first of all, you can say, this is the default setting that you only see anonymized versions of usernames. Only with specific rights you see that. So for instance, I'm currently a Priva admin, so I can see the end user names. But if you are just an investigator from the role model, you only see anonymized versions. And you see here notification mails. You can turn on Teams collaboration, data matching. If you have any sensitive info types you wanna have to be investigated there. And also you see here our data retention periods, which is 30 days. You can extend that for 90 days, but in the demo tenant, it's 30 days. And then also you can look at our review tags. If you have found something, you can add a tag and say, okay, I want to follow up on that. That means this is the first part. It's Viva privacy management. And the second part would be a data subject request. And I did one. And everyone who knows me knows that Nestor is one of my favorite users. So I did a data subject request on Nestor already to show you how it looks like. And if I open that up, you see here, this is the progress. The data was estimated, it was retrieved, and now we can review our data and can generate an export. Also, what you see from the profile, we looked into Exchange, SharePoint, and Teams, and you see also many locations are still within Microsoft Exchange. And that means if you look at the data collected service, you see here what was collected here and what are the documents I've seen there. So you see a lot of emails, but I can also look again at the document. And if you look here, you get the plain text, and you get a little information. What kind of details do you find here? And is that something where you are either the author or the content owner or anything else? And then you can go and investigate through the review and said, okay, this is not a match, can confirm it. Or you can also say, okay, I have this one to review. How does it look like? And what kind of data have I found here? So you see, you have a really powerful tool to have privacy investigations. What else can we do here? First of all, we can include them. So you see here on the icons, we have also those, or you can apply tag, and the apply tag would be, okay, I need to look at that with a colleague, so I have to apply tag that we need to follow up on that. So you can also look at that. And also, if we go there and we work through all the items and so on, a report is generated, and the report can be downloaded. And if you want to download that, you get the CSV report, and then you can either hand it over to the person who made the data subject request, or you can review it with someone else if you want that. Also, what we see here is we can chat with collaborators, and I added one. So just to show you that I'm not alone reviewing Nestor's data, it's also Megan. And you see I can simply open that up and can look at the document. So that means this is how it looks like if you have created a data subject request, but how does it look like if you create a new request? And just to show you that, I'm creating a new request, and I'm doing my second preferred person. And you see here first name, last name, and you can also create an email for that person. So it would be Alex V at, simply, just give me a second. I have to cheat for the tenant name, that I have the right email address. So you see, I'm looking for that person, and here you see I can set up the data, the person who is, so it's a current employee or former employee, and so on. And then, yeah, I forgot the residency. So he is located in Austria. So I add that, next, and then you can see what you want to look for. So we can go through Exchange and also through SharePoint. So I'm turning that on, and then you see, okay, what kind of search options do I have? So I can refine my search. I can search for specific content. I can include content with where the person is not included in the content itself, but it authored the content. I can include all versions of items, or I can get an estimate first if I want that. I'm just keeping that, and then you see it, okay, what type of data request is that? I want to have an export, and my deadline is in 2 weeks, because we talked about immediate answer for that. So then I will do that, request by April 1st. And then I can go there and create the request, and it will start investigating into that and finish it. So you see, you have a lot of powerful tools to work through. And what we see here is as soon as the request is finished, we have the process in our environment. Next, because I have 5 minutes left, I will go and show you what we will have from the licensing perspective. I always do that last. So after our demo, first of all, here is how the data subject request workflow works and what we can do there. And you see, person says, I have a right to be forgotten in your tenant. So I set up a data subject request for a specific person. And then you see the user flow goes there to the detection. It collects the data. And then if you have a report created, you can hand it over to the person who created the report. Also, that you see how it looks like from the policy overview. If you have more data already in there, then you see also after a while, it shows up more alerts, more investigations, and so on. And you can simply investigate into your policies. And also what I wanted to show you is a policy management overview where we have collected more data already in our environment. And this is also something what I wanted to show you here is that you can see this is in a live tenant with a customer we are currently working for, where you see this is one alert, this is the data they are finding, and this is the investigation around there. Where's the data located and so on. And this customer has a lot of data in OneDrive. Also, if we look at that, you see here the types of documents you can find here. So we have Office documents, Teams documents, and files, and then you can investigate through the documents. And also to show you how it looks like if you have another location. So this is the profile from a European customer where you see the customer is located within the European Union. All the data is here, and also what kind or types of data they have found in their environment and how it looks like. And the last thing I wanted to show you is those are the locations which are permanently scanned, and there you can see, okay, what types of data do I have in specific locations. And before I turn over to licensing, I have a pro tip for every person who handles a lot of things, policies in the compliance center. Wait for at least 48 hours on any compliance related settings. So if you create a new policy and if you do a new policy, it could take a time because it has to look into all data and it runs in a continuous mode. So if you first set it up, be a little patient, wait for 2 days, and then you will see data showing up. And then my favorite part, again, I'm just a messenger. Priva comes with an additional license. So you have to license it if you want it on a continuous investment. It comes, this is the standard pricing, $5 per user per month. But you can also simply license it for subject rights requests. So it could be per user licenses, or you buy it in packages, and that means you can buy it. Okay, I have 10 data subject requests per year, so you simply buy a package of 10 blocks for that. And then in the end, I also have collected some links for you where you can start doing that. And also I would highly recommend go into the Priva playbook and look at that, because this is a really nice walkthrough of the whole capabilities of Priva. And hopefully you liked it, and I hope I got some questions. I see it in the chat, and I'm happy if you want to connect me or with me or ask any questions. So please just ask, just tweet. Email is a medium I do not use very often, but I'm happy to answer any questions.